Now let me discuss the reactivity of these group 17 elements with metals. Reactivity with metals. And how these halogens react with metals like sodium, magnesium, tin, iron, lead. Okay. If you see magnesium, for example, these halogens react with magnesium and it forms magnesium halide. Suppose if you see chlorine, if you see the example of chlorine, it is MgCl2. If you take up Na sodium, reaction with sodium, it is NaCl, CaCl2, Ki. So these halogens readily react with these highly electropositive metals to form halides. And in previous classes, all of you must have seen one particular halide which is a little confusing. That is cesium triiodide, even potassium triiodide, which contain I3 minus. I3 minus is nothing but I2 plus I minus. You will get I3 minus, triiodide ion. Even in the previous class also we came across this particular ion, in which iodine is in minus 1/3 oxidation state. Okay, if you come to some other metals like Fe, iron reacts with Cl2 to give FeCl3, and all please remember not FeCl2. Iron exhibits two different oxidation states. One is +2, another one is +3. And when you treat iron with chlorine, you will directly get FeCl3. Because Cl2 can oxidize Fe+2. If at all there is any ferrous compound formed, the chlorine present there further oxidizes ferrous to ferric. So ultimately you will get ferric only, not ferrous. And similarly, tin reacts with chlorine to form both halides, SnCl2 as well as SnCl4. You know, tin exhibits two oxidation states, and +4 is more stable than +2. So if you take excess chlorine here, you will directly get SnCl4. But if you take limited amount of chlorine, you will get SnCl2. So these halogens, almost all the halogens react with metals to form halides. And here let me explain 2 points. Suppose if you see NaI, then NaBr, NaCl and NaF, which is most covalent out of these 4 halides, most covalent. Fajan's rules will help you. I minus, Br minus, Cl minus, F minus. See, cation is same. And you see the anion, which is most polarizable anion, I minus, because of its big size, because of its least electronegativity. So polarizability of I minus is maximum. So that is most covalent. So this is the covalent character. Similarly, suppose if you take SnCl2 and SnCl4, and which is more covalent here. Now the halide ion is same, the anion is same, the cation is different. Here the cationic charge is +4 and here the cationic charge is +2. And Sn+4, the polarizing power of Sn+4 is higher because of its small size, higher charge density is higher. So polarizing power is higher. So that is more covalent. So this is the covalent character in these halides. So more the oxidation state of the central metal ion, more is the covalent character. And if oxidation state of the metal is same and metal ion is also same, iodides are most covalent and fluorides are most ionic. And one more point here, there are some halides which do not exist. Suppose for example, FeI3. This compound does not exist. And another such halide is PbI4. This also does not exist. So what is the reason? Because I minus can easily reduce ferric to ferrous, and in that reaction I minus is converted into I2. All of you recall, in our previous class we have discussed the dissolved oxygen can oxidize I minus. See, in the topic reactivity towards water, I told you I minus can easily be oxidized. Even the dissolved amount of oxygen, which is very less actually, that can oxidize I minus. It is very easy to oxidize I minus to I2. And in that reaction, Fe plus 3 is converted into Fe plus 2. So there is no way FeI3 can exist. Similarly, PbI4. You just recall, all of you, what is the stable oxidation state of lead? It is plus 2 because of inert pair effect. So that Pb plus 4 is easily reduced by I minus to Pb plus 2. And in that reaction, I minus is converted into I2. So like this, some halides do not exist. Okay. So this is about reaction of these, reactivity of these elements, halogens towards metals. Now, next let us take up reactivity among the halogens. Generally, the elements in a group, they do not react with each other, generally. But group 17 is an exception to that. There are so many compounds which are formed because of a reaction between two different halogens. And these compounds are called as interhalogen compounds. And these interhalogen compounds are actually, you see, one type is X, X dash, BRCl, CLF, BRF. Another type is X, X dash 3. 3 surrounding atoms, 1 central atom. And another type is X, X dash 5 and X, X dash 7. And here X and X dash, if you see, then X dash must be smaller than X. And further details of these interhalogen compounds I will discuss later. But halogens react with other halogens and to form interhalogen compounds, and interhalogen compounds are of these 4 types. And why X dash must be smaller than X? We know in the previous class we discussed about this. Whenever a particular element expands its valency, the surrounding atom must be more electronegative than the central atom. The surrounding atom must be smaller, it cannot be too big. Okay, so there are restrictions actually whenever central atom expands its valency. So because of those restrictions, actually X dash must be smaller. So that means here the central atom is a heavier halogen, surrounding atom is a smaller halogen or a lighter halogen. Okay, so this is the reaction of halogens with metals, and that is the reaction of halogen with other halogens. Now let us see the chemistry of chlorine, methods of preparation of chlorine, chemical reactions of chlorine. Now let me discuss about the entire chemistry of chlorine. Okay, first if you come to methods of preparation. Let me discuss methods of preparation in two different categories. First category, small scale method of preparation, which is also called as laboratory scale, and a large scale method of preparation, which is also called as industrial scale. So first, if you come to laboratory scale method of preparation, now you can prepare chlorine on a small scale from HCl or NaCl, and when you treat HCl with MnO2, you will get chlorine plus Mn plus 2 plus water. Now, in your previous classes, all of you studied that in acidic medium, whatever may be the oxidation state of manganese, plus 7 or plus 4, in acidic medium, that is converted into Mn plus 2. So, MnO2 is an oxidizing agent because manganese is getting reduced and it oxidizes Cl minus to Cl2. And naturally question arises, where from you will get HCl? Because when we studied the occurrence of these elements at the beginning of this chapter, chlorine is available in the nature as salts, not as HCl. It is available as NaCl. It is available as KCl, MgCl2, CaCl2, not as HCl. So if you want to prepare HCl from those metal halides, it is very simple. You take those metal halide and you treat it with H2SO4. And if you warm this mixture, of course aqueous, you will get HCl plus Na2SO4. So this way you can prepare HCl. Or you can do one thing. Without the preparation of HCl directly, you can add this MnO2 in this mixture. Then also you will get Cl2. You take NaCl, you take H2SO4, and directly in that mixture you can add MnO2. And that Mn plus 4 is converted into plus 2. Sulfate ion remains as it is, Cl minus ions and Cl2 plus water. So first you prepare HCl, then you treat HCl with MnO2, that is one way. Or you can add the MnO2 directly to a mixture of aqueous NaCl and aqueous H2SO4. So either way you can prepare chlorine. In the place of MnO2, you can also use KMnO4. Suppose if you take HCl, you take KMnO4 in acidic medium, H2SO4. So by that way also you can prepare chlorine. So you will get Cl2, you will get Mn plus 2 because acidic medium, you will get K plus, same, no change in K plus, similarly no change in sulfate ion and water. So these are the laboratory scale methods of preparation. Now if you come to industrial scale, large scale method of preparation of chlorine. Now there are two methods. The first method is hydrogen chloride is treated with O2 at a temperature 723 Kelvin and in the presence of CuCl2, which is a catalyst, and you will get Cl2 plus water. And this process is called as Decaun's process. But actually this is a old method of preparation. Nowadays on a large scale Cl2 is prepared in another way, which I am going to tell you. But of course this is also one of the ways to prepare chlorine on a large scale. Decaun's process, HCl treated with oxygen in the presence of a catalyst cupric chloride at high temperature and you will get Cl2 plus water. And a large scale method of preparation another method which is in fact more important, as I already told you, that is electrolysis of brine. And brine is nothing but aqueous NaCl. And in the topic occurrence, we already discussed chlorine is available in nature as chlorides of the metal, sodium, chlorides of sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. So let us take up aqueous NaCl and let us do electrolysis. Okay, in this reaction, you all know it is an electrolytic cell. In that we take aqueous NaCl as the electrolyte, two metal rods which are called as electrodes. They are connected to external source of power. The electrode to which the negative terminal is connected, and that is negatively charged of course, and that is cathode. And the electrode to which the positive terminal is connected, that is positively charged, and its name is anode. And this is aqueous NaCl electrolyte. Now when you start passing electricity, then cations move towards negatively charged electrode, cathode, and anions move towards positively charged electrode, that is anode. And at cathode, the cations take up electrons and get reduced, and at anode the anions lose electrons and they get oxidized. And actually in aqueous NaCl there are two cations. One is H plus, which is coming from water, and another one is Na plus coming from NaCl. Similarly, there are two anions, OH minus coming from water and Cl minus coming from NaCl. Between H plus and Na plus, it is easy to reduce H plus. It is very difficult to reduce Na plus. So although Na plus migrates towards cathode, it does not get reduced, but H plus gets reduced in preference to Na plus. Similarly, at anode, it is very easy to oxidize Cl minus rather than OH minus. So although both anions, Cl minus as well as OH minus, migrate towards anode, Cl minus gets oxidized in preference to OH minus. So if you come to reactions, now see, 2 water, that gives 2H plus plus 2OH minus, and these H plus ions get reduced at cathode and you will get hydrogen gas. This is the reaction at cathode. Now if you come to the reaction at anode, Cl minus, I already told you Cl minus gets preferably oxidized. So 2Cl minus, that gives Cl2 gas plus 2 electrons. So this is the cathodic reaction. If you add these two, then you will get a reaction that is 2H2O as it is. H plus and H plus get cancelled, plus 2 electrons, that gives H2 gas plus 2 OH minus. And you observe the products carefully. At cathode, hydrogen gas is liberated, but don't ignore OH minus. For each mole of hydrogen gas liberated, there are 2 moles of OH minus left at cathode. And if you see the anodic products, we are getting chlorine gas, and nothing is happening to Na plus and nothing is happening to OH minus. So side product is NaOH. Actually this method is for the preparation of chlorine. Here our purpose is the preparation of chlorine, but apart from chlorine we are also getting NaOH. So in the electrolyte which is left here, that electrolyte becomes slowly, gradually it becomes basic, more and more basic, because NaOH is the side product. Cl minus is getting used up, and once the electrolysis is complete, there will be no Cl minus in the electrolyte, but you are having only NaOH. And here one very important point is, chlorine gas is liberated at anode and hydrogen gas is liberated at cathode. Now suppose take a glass rod, and with the help of that glass rod, you constantly stir that electrolyte during electrolysis. And when you constantly stir that electrolyte, a reaction happens, that is Cl2, which is being liberated at anode, reacts with NaOH, that gives NaCl plus NaOCl. On stirring at room temperature. Don't increase the temperature. Keep the temperature at 25 degrees Celsius. You take a glass rod, and from the beginning of the electrolysis, you constantly stir it. So that means you are not allowing chlorine gas to escape from the reaction vessel. So as soon as it is produced at the anode, it reacts with NaOH. And the products are NaCl and NaOCl. Sodium hypochlorite, one of the very powerful oxidizing agent. Suppose now you stir that same electrolyte at an elevated temperature. Now you increase the temperature to 70 or 80 degrees. Then you stir it. Then in that case, the same liberated chlorine reacts with NaOH, the same NaOH which is the side product, to give NaCl and NaClO3. Now this reaction happens at room temperature, this reaction happens at high temperature, at around 70 degrees Celsius. But both reactions happen on stirring, constant stirring. If you don't stir it, then simply chlorine is escaped from the reaction system, and that does not react with NaOH, which is being produced. So to make that chlorine react with NaOH, you have to constantly stir it. And stirring at room temperature results in this reaction, and stirring at high temperature around 70 degrees Celsius results in this reaction. So these are the methods of preparation of chlorine. These are the laboratory scale methods, small scale method of preparation, and this is industrial scale, Decaun's process, and this is also industrial scale, electrolysis of brine. And very carefully observe the reaction, cathodic reaction and anodic reaction. Now let me discuss about the chemical reactions of chlorine. Actually, in these chemical reactions, I will discuss how chlorine reacts with metals, but you already know that, we have seen that. How this chlorine reacts with non-metals, this also we discussed in our previous chapters. How chlorine reacts with hydrogen, you know that. How chlorine reacts with NaOH, and how chlorine reacts with water, and how this chlorine acts as an oxidizing agent, and how this chlorine acts as a bleaching agent. So these are the various aspects of chemical reactions of chlorine. Reaction with metals, non-metals, base, that is NaOH or calcium hydroxide, then with water as an oxidizing agent, as a bleaching agent. Okay. So first come to reaction with metals. Reaction of chlorine with metals. Now suppose if you take sodium, sodium reacts with chlorine and it gives NaCl. Magnesium reacts with chlorine and it gives MgCl2. Iron reacts with chlorine and it gives ferric chloride, not ferrous chloride. We already discussed about it. Because chlorine can easily oxidize ferrous to ferric. So in this reaction, there is no way you can get ferrous. Directly you will get ferric. Now these are the some important reactions in which chlorine reacts with metals. Suppose if you come to reaction with non-metals. Chlorine reacts with phosphorus, P4, white phosphorus plus chlorine. All of you recall what is the product that is formed? Depending upon the conditions, maybe PCl3 or PCl5. So if you take P4 in excess, you will get PCl3. On the other hand, if you get chlorine in excess, you will get PCl5. And chlorine reacts with sulfur and you will get S2Cl2. All of you, do you remember this compound S2Cl2? Can you recall in which reaction this is obtained as one of the products? In the preparation of PCl3, in the preparation of, that means the reaction between P4 and SOCl2. You will get PCl3 plus S2Cl2 plus SO2. Okay. So, and if you treat this S2Cl2 further with chlorine, then you will get SCl2. Here oxidation state +1 and oxidation state +2. And all of you please distinguish here the reactivity of chlorine with that of fluorine. You take same S8 and if you treat this with fluorine, then you will get SF6. And you see how much difference is there. Here the maximum oxidation state of sulfur you are getting is +2. But here directly sulfur is going into +6 oxidation state. All of you recall, whenever an element expands its valency, the surrounding atom must be the maximum valency is brought about by fluorine and oxygen. Only in few cases that can be achieved by chlorine. That is in the case of phosphorus, not sulfur. In the case of sulfur, the maximum oxidation state, that is +6, is attained only when the surrounding atom is either fluorine or oxygen, SO3 +6 and SF6 +6. And you see the differentiate between chlorine and fluorine. These are some of the reactions with non-metals. And we have already discussed reaction with hydrogen. Chlorine reacts with hydrogen. If I continue here, chlorine also reacts with hydrogen to give HCl. You know, chlorine also reacts with H2S. Actually, chlorine is a good oxidizing agent. And when it reacts with H2S, you will get elemental sulfur plus HCl. Okay, if you come to reaction with base, NaOH or CaOH twice. Now just in the previous topic I mentioned some reactions. How chlorine reacts with NaOH at room temperature, at high temperature. Now let me repeat that. Now with NaOH, chlorine reacts under cold conditions, cold and dilute NaOH. If this is the case, then the products are NaCl and NaOCl plus water. And it is called as sodium hypochlorite. One of the very strong oxidizing agents. When NaOH is cold and it is dilute. When NaOH is hot and concentrated, NaOH, then in that case you will get NaCl plus NaClO3 plus water, and it is called as sodium chlorate, RAT. It is also a good oxidizing agent. See, we have seen in that reactivity of group 17 elements with oxygen. So, wherever chlorine is in positive oxidation states, +1 or +3 or +5 or +7, all such compounds are good oxidizing agents. But particularly this hypochlorite is a very good oxidizing agent. Okay, and in the another reaction, chlorine also reacts with CaOH twice. Chlorine reacts with slaked lime, CaOH twice, to give CaOCl twice plus CaCl2. And all of, this happens at room temperature. And all of you please compare this reaction with this reaction. There is absolutely no difference between those two. Here also we got Cl minus, but only thing is that sodium is monovalent, calcium is divalent. So obviously here the compound must be CaCl2, that's it. And here we got OCl minus, which is called as hypochlorite ion, and here also the same OCl minus. And because of the valency, the compound is, because of the valency of calcium, the compound is like this, CaOCl twice. And actually this reaction is used to prepare bleaching powder, and the composition of that bleaching powder is CaOH twice, some amount CaOCl twice, and some amount of CaCl2. This is actually the composition of bleaching powder. And bleaching powder is prepared this way. When chlorine is treated with this slaked lime, dry slaked lime at room temperature, you will get calcium hypochlorite plus calcium chloride. And commercially available bleaching powder samples, they are composed of 3 different compounds. If you remember, in stoichiometry chapter, we have written the composition of bleaching powder as simply CaOCl2. But of course, effectively, bleaching powder has got the bleaching action because of this ion, OCl minus, nothing else. It is not because of calcium hydroxide, it is not because of calcium chloride, it is because of hypochlorite ion. And if you write bleaching powder like this, there is nothing wrong, because effectively the active part of the bleaching powder is OCl minus. Okay, but the actual composition is this one. Actually, in various amounts, 3 different compounds: hydroxide, chloride, hypochlorite. Okay, so these are some of the reactions of chlorine with metals, with non-metals, and with base. And this is the composition of the bleaching powder. Now let me continue with the reactions of chlorine. One last reaction of chlorine, that is oxidizing and bleaching action of chlorine. In fact, both are closely related. See, almost maximum bleaching agents are oxidizing agents. Of course, there are few exceptions like SO2. That means some bleach by reduction and some bleach by oxidation. But maximum bleaching agents bleach by oxidation, and chlorine water is one such compound. Okay, in this topic, first let me make you recall what is the reaction of chlorine with water. And you know, chlorine water is yellow in color. Now, chlorine reacts with water to give HCl and HOCl. But of course, not completely, only partially, to some extent. Approximately, if you take 1 mole of Cl2, 2/3, 2/3 times of initial moles left unreacted, and 1/3 mole of this and this are formed. Suppose if you take X moles of Cl2, 2/3 of that X is left unreacted at equilibrium, and 1/3 is converted into HCl and HOCl. So reaction of chlorine with water is not complete, it is only partial. And because of this reaction, this color of chlorine water gradually disappears because of that reaction. And these, particularly this product HOCl, that releases nascent oxygen. And I already told you hypochlorite ion is a very powerful oxidizing agent, and because of the release of this nascent oxygen, and obviously this Cl plus is converted into Cl minus. And as a result of this nascent oxygen, this is a very powerful oxidizing agent, this entire chlorine water. And if you come to the reactions of this chlorine water, you take FeSO4, you treat this with chlorine water, and this Fe plus 2 is converted into Fe plus 3, FeSO4, Fe2SO4 thrice plus HCl. And if you take Na2SO3 and if you treat this compound with chlorine water, and all of you see the oxidation state of sulfur here, plus 4, and in sulfur plus 6 is more stable. That too, we are having a very powerful oxidizing agent here, and you will get NaHSO4 or Na2SO4, no problem, plus HCl. Suppose if you take only sulfur dioxide and you treat that compound with chlorine water, that sulfur dioxide is converted into SO4 2 minus plus HCl. See, chlorine water acting as an oxidizing agent. It oxidized Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3. It oxidized S plus 4. Here also sulfur is in plus 4 oxidation state. 2 plus 6, here also plus 6, and here also plus 6. And in all reactions, chlorine is converted into Cl minus. And some other reactions, you take I minus, you treat this compound with chlorine water, you will get I3 minus plus Cl minus, and you know I3 minus is nothing but I2 plus I minus. So minus 1 oxidation state is converted into 0 oxidation state, and Cl2 is converted into Cl minus. Now, suppose if you take I2 and you treat this compound with chlorine water, you will get HiO3. Iodine is oxidized from 0 to plus 5, and you will get Cl minus, that is HCl. Actually, you see, these two reactions combination, this set of reactions is used in qualitative analysis to detect I minus. One of the practical tests to identify I minus is to add chlorine water. Suppose in the test tube we have I minus. First you add some amount of chlorine water. You will get brown color because of the formation of this I3 minus, triiodide ion, which is brown in color. Now if you add excess chlorine water, then that brown color disappears due to the formation of this HiO3, and HiO3 is colorless. So first brown color, then colorless upon addition of chlorine water. Then you can confirm the presence of I minus. So in the qualitative analysis of anions, for the identification of I minus, we use this set of reactions. Okay, and if you come to bleaching action of chlorine, chlorine is a very powerful bleaching agent. Of course, when we use chlorine as a bleaching agent, we take moist chlorine, and let me add here, moist chlorine, not dry chlorine, and that is because of the release of nascent oxygen. And all of you please look at this reaction. Chlorine reacts with water to give particularly this hypochlorous acid, and that hypochlorous acid releases nascent oxygen. So colored substance converted into colorless substance, and the species which is responsible for that is nascent oxide, and you will get colorless substance. And the bleaching action of this moist chlorine is oxidation, not reduction. And all of you recall, we have studied in group 16, SO2 is a bleaching agent by reduction, and chlorine is a bleaching agent by oxidation. Even ozone is a bleaching agent, that is also by oxidation. And bleaching action of chlorine is permanent, but bleaching action of SO2 is temporary. SO2 bleaches by reduction, and it bleaches the color by reduction, but atmospheric oxygen again oxidizes it. So SO2's bleaching action is only temporary. For some time it is bleached, but the color again comes back because of the atmospheric oxygen. But this is not like that. Chlorine bleaching action is permanent, and it is done by oxidation, not reduction. Okay, so this is the overall oxidizing properties of chlorine water. Reaction with water, production of hypochlorite ion, and hypochlorite ion releases nascent oxygen. That nascent oxygen is responsible for all these oxidizing reactions, including bleaching. Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3, sulfur plus 4 to plus 6. Here also same thing, and I minus to I0. I3 minus is nothing but a combination of I2 and I minus. And if you add additional amount of chlorine water, the iodine goes to plus 5. So this is all about reactions of chlorine.